Okay, so editing. This is when you take all of your footage, your assets, your story, your ideas, you meld them all together into that final film. So the edit normally takes a very long time in the industry in real life because it's quite an arduous creative process. There's a lot of kind of hashing out ideas, refining those ideas, going in new directions. So it will take a bit of time. So don't stress if things aren't working out straight away. You need to keep going at it. To get your film put together. So the first thing that you need to do when you're in the edit is you take all of your media, be that your sound recordings, be it your footage, be it any animations or graphics, and you put them on your computer. You put them all in one place or on a hard drive or something like that. So you want to make sure that all of these assets are in one folder on your computer, and you want to do a little bit of what we call file management, a bit of organization, so have your video in one place. And if your video is recorded in different locations on different days, for example, this is a way of categorizing that video. You can create different folders, put them in there, label them if you feel the need to. Basically, it means that you're doing yourself a favor in the future. It's easy to find those videos, and once you've made those folders and started to create your editing project on your editing software, don't move them around because it will confuse your editing software. So stick to your guns when you come up with your file management workflow. Basically, keep it all organized. It'll help you. It means you'll be less confused in the future. Then we go into something called the offline edit. This is when you're putting your clips and your sound effects together to create your story. So basically, when you're in any kind of editing software, you will take those clips, you'll put them into a timeline, then you can chop them up to remove the bits that you don't want and keep the bits that you do. Put them into something that we call a sequence. You can layer your sound under it. Maybe it's the sound that came with that video. Maybe it's some voiceover that you've recorded. Maybe it's some sound effects or something like that. You just want to put them basically as those raw ingredients, like if you had a recipe, in the order that you want them to be in. A bit like a storyboard, basically. A timeline in a bit of editing software will look like a storyboard eventually, with all the different pieces that you want. You can then refine them more, chop them down more. You can take them out, move them about once you've lifted them out of the sequence, and get them in the order that you want them to be in. It's a fine art, but the more that you do it, the better you'll get at it, and it's an excellent learning process, and eventually you'll have something that looks like your final film. Once you've finished that offline part of the edit, we move into something called the online, which is kind of the fun part. It's when you get to do all the polishing and the nice bits that make your film aesthetically and sonically pleasing. So this is, for example, color correction and grading. It might be when you record a bit of video, the colors don't look quite like they did in real life, or you want to kind of pump them up to look a bit more exciting. So maybe you'd add some saturation, or you desaturate it if you wanted to match the tone of the film that you're trying to make. Similarly, you would do what we call sound mixing, where you make certain sounds louder or quieter depending on what you want people to notice. You might balance your sound out so that it all kind of matches. If you've brought in extra sound effects and scratch recordings and things, you just want to make it so that you've got a nice flowing sequence that isn't throwing people off because it sounds or looks a bit weird. And then you would also add in any graphics or titling. If you've got a title of a film or a sequence coming up, you've got any credits that are being laid in, any subtitles that help people hear what's being said, anything like that gets done in what we call the online edit.